Hey everyone and welcome to this video. I'm Mohammed Hassan. I'm a Google developers expert in Angular, and in this video you are going to learn pop. You're going to learn how to build a balloon popping game in Angular, and we are going to use the latest Angular 17.2, which includes signals and signal queries. So without further ado, let's get started. First of all, we are going to go to our terminal and write ng new balloon pop, and this will create our application. Now you can select if you want to use CSS, SCSS. I'm just going to use SCSS and say no to SSR. This is installing the packages right now. So this should take very minimal time, and then you have a project to work with. Now we'll open this into VS Code. So you can just open this into VS Code. I'll just run the command code for this one. Now if you go to terminal, you can just run ng-serve and you should be able to see the application running on localhost 4200. Now this is a default app that comes out of the box within here. Now what you can do is you can quickly go to Angular tailwind solution, because we are going to add tailwind to Angular, and you can follow the instructions just like this. So we'll install the packages first, and then we are going to create a tailwind CSS file. So first run this one, wait for the packages to install. Once they're done, run the npx tailwind CSS init, and this should create the tailwind CSS file for you to work with. When you open it, you can see this content property. We are going to change that. So copy this and then go inside your file and then just replace the content with this. Now we can move forward with copying this to our styles.scss file, since we are using SCSS. So go to the file and just copy paste this. Now you can move forward with just running ng-serve. And now we'll start with app components. So delete everything from app.html. First of all, we are going to create a toolbar. Inside that, we are going to just say span balloon pop. You can see that we can't see anything at all. So what we are going to do is to change the background color. So we are going to change it to 900. And we are also going to add some styles with flex and item center. Now this looks much better. Now we can start creating our main component or our main HTML element. And inside that, we'll have the component for showing the whole balloon game. Put the role to main for accessibility, and we're going to create a game container inside. Go to the SCSS file and then put these styles. So we have minimal styles for styling the game container, so you can pause and look back. We're now creating the div inside, and we are going to show the score and miss just like this. So the score is essentially what you get when you pop the balloon, and the missed number is essentially what you have missed. Creating a balloon.interface TS is our initial step for creating what a balloon looks like. So a balloon essentially has just the ID and the color. So the ID is going to be string, the color is going to be string as well. After that, we are going to create a class which basically implements this interface. So we can create the instances of those balloons really easily. So here we can start by just saying we have a class, and we're going to export that. And then we can say the ID is string here and the color is string here. Now we're defining the values here, but they need to be assigned in the constructor. So here we can quickly say this.id equals, and we're going to use the crypto from the web API to create a random UUID, but you can use other packages as well. And here I'm going to just use a color. Now I have to pick from a number of colors. So I want to randomize that as well. So I'm going to create a colors array with some colors. And here I'm implementing the interface that we talked about or we created earlier. Now I'm going to just randomize the color right here. So I'm going to pick from the colors array with this magic math.floor math.random. So you can just look at that and copy it as it is. But this just ensures that we are copying or we are picking from one of the elements from the array. Now we can create a component for our balloon. And this is where the magic starts. So we're creating that inside the components folder, as you can see. If you go to the components HTML, you should be able to see that it says balloon works. We're fine with that for now. So we're going to go to our app component TS, and we need to import this component because every component is now standalone. So they need to be imported into other components in order for us to render. Now we can go to our app component and basically render this balloon component. So let's quickly put that. And why not many of them? So we put 3 of them, and you can see balloon works 3 times. Now we can go back to our balloon component and actually write something that looks like a balloon. So we're going to replace this with a particular div with having w12 and height 12, which means width and height 12. And this corresponds to a pixel value in Tailwind CSS. So you can mouse over and see that. Now we're going to go rounded full to show a circle and the cursor pointer. So we have the cursor pointer when we mouse over this. We are also going to hardcode the color right now to red. And there you go. You can see 3 divs which are circular. Now we can put them inside a flex to have them in a row sort of layout, just like this with a gap. So now you can create a balloon on screen variable, which basically would tell how many balloons would be there on the screen. Now I'm going to create an array of balloons based on this number. So this is dynamic, so I can change this anytime. Now instead of the iBalloon here, I would use iBalloon array, but I'm going to fix that later. But this is an array of size the balloons on the screen. So if we want 5 balloons on the screen, that means we are going to use this balloons on the screen variable and create a new array out of it. Then we're just going to fill it with 0 for now, and then we'll map it to use a new instance of a balloon, which means that essentially we are creating 3 balloons right now using the balloons class that we created earlier. So this is going to result in an array of 3 balloons, and that is what we wanted. And here you can see that I fixed the interface or the type of the balloons array to iBalloon array. We are also going to create 2 variables for score and missed and assign it to 0. And here we can replace these values by the variables, so they're dynamic as well. Now we can remove these variables and we can just run a loop on the balloons array. So I'm just going to say balloon of balloons, and we are going to track them by ID because we know that the ID of the balloon is unique because it's a random UUID. Now instead of 3, we can just put here 1 of the balloon, but you will still see 3 balloons because yeah, we are running a for loop right here. If we change this to 10, you can see we have 10 balloons. Awesome. But we're going to put 3 for now, just for the case. Now we can go back to our template and we are going to use the color of the balloon here, which is dynamic already. So we can just use the variable right here, but we don't have that being used at the moment. So we are not really passing each balloon into the balloon component. So first we need to create an input, and we're going to use the new signal inputs for this. And we're going to make this required, so each balloon component needs a balloon input. So here I can just type it like this. So I can say iBalloon, and the input is now typed as a balloon. And this is an input signal, as you can see right here. Now what I can do is I can go to my template in the app component and I can pass this as the attribute. So balloon equals to balloon, as you can see. And now we're passing each balloon into its own balloon component. Now we can go to our balloon component TS and verify that's the same name. And here we can go to our HTML, and we are now dynamically adding the background color from the balloon color, as you can see. Notice that we have this small bracket around balloon because it's a signal. And now you can see that if we go to our view and refresh the page, each time we get a new color. And that is because the colors are dynamically generated every time the app refreshes. Now we can go to our file, and inside here, we can start writing about the animation that we want for our balloon. And we are going to use the animation builder from Angular. And this is a way to actually build our own custom animations, which can be really, really complex as well, but that's fine. You'll notice that we are going to the app config file right now, and we are using the provide animations from Angular platform browser animations. And here we need to provide this inside the providers, just like this. Now I can go ahead and I can start implementing the animation. So I'm going to say that the balloon component actually implements on init. And inside that, I can go and say ng on init, and inside here, I can implement the animation. So the idea is to fly the balloon as soon as this component is rendered. And inside that, we are going to call this fly animation, and we are going to use the animation builder for this and the build method precisely. Now inside here, we can provide a style to basically set the initial position. So we are going to here say that the translate is going to be 0, 0. So we are not translating anything. And then we need to animate this to use something else. Notice that the style and animate both are being imported from Angular core. Now here, what I can do is I can say the animation is going to take 4 seconds for each balloon to fly from bottom to up. And the style here is going to also use translate, but the X is going to still be 0, but the Y is going to be minus 10 pixels. So I just want to show you the vertical animation that we can do right now. Then we're going to create a player variable right here, and we're going to use this animation. So we can say fly animation.create, and here we need the reference for this element, the balloon element. So for that, we are going to use the element ref service from Angular. So we're going to inject it, the element ref service. And then we can use this to provide the native element of the balloon component, just like this. When we do this, we are basically applying the whole animation to the player HTML element. But we are also going to use the first child to ensure that we are applying to the right element, and that is animated. So it's going to be the top level component or top level element inside our balloon component. By using player.play, we basically run the animation, And then we can say on done, provided a callback. So when the animation finishes, this function is going to be called, and we'll just log animation done for now, just to be clear. So when we refresh, you can see there's a slight animation running, but let's change it to 40 pixel. And now you can see the animation in real time. So all the balloons are actually, translating from 0 to minus 40 pixel. Now you can see they are going out of screen because I've put minus 100 view height, which is a lot. So they just go bonkers. Now, in order for this to start from bottom to the top, we need to say fixed as position, left 0, bottom 0. And let's see what happens then. Now you can see that all of our balloons are actually left 0, bottom 0. So we only see one, but they're actually 3. Now we need to give a dynamic position, the dynamic left position for each balloon. So they appear in different places on the screen, but they're all going to start from the bottom. So the Y is still at the bottom, 0, but the left is going to be dynamic. So we'll pick a number from 0 to something, and that something essentially needs to be the window's width, but we are going to look at that in just a bit. In the CSS, we are just going to apply block to the element. So our element exists on the UI as a block. And now I can calculate the maximum width that we can support for this left position. So the whole window's width minus the width of the element that we have right now, we're actually gonna reduce to that. And then we are also going to subtract a buffer from it. So just adding a bit of number so our element doesn't appear at the end of the screen on the very right side. So here you can see we are using minus buffer and minus element, native element dot first child client width. Once we have this max width, we can use this here. And now we have a left position from 0 to extreme right, whatever we have it. And we're using that in the translate right now. If you try to refresh, you can see all the balloons appear at random X positions, but they all appear at the bottom. So this is great. This is what we wanted, right? And you can also see the animation finished log as you saw right there. Now I can also see the speed of this animation. So I'm gonna have two variations. So a minimum speed and then also sort of a variation. So I'm thinking about something between 5 seconds to 10 seconds. That is how slow a balloon can be or how fast it could be. So minimum speed is going to be 5 as in seconds. And then I'm going to have a variation. So it's going to be from 5 to 10. So the speed variation is also 5. Now you can see that this equation basically calculates the speed, which is minimum speed, which is 5 plus a random value multiply by the speed variation. So it's going to actually be 5 to 10. Now I can put that inside this variable right here as speed. And now we have dynamic speeds for each balloon. Now you'll notice that in some cases it's very visible on how dynamic it is. In some cases it seems like it's the same for the other balloon, but it is pretty dynamic as you can see right now. Now what I can do is I can put the pop function. So whenever we mouse over a balloon, we need to pop the balloon right there and then. So first of all, we are going to create an output inside the button component, which will emit this information that a balloon is popped. Because the balloons are in the app component, the parent component, we need to pass this information from this component to outside. So here, this is the emitter that we are just going to say balloon popped.emit, and we're going to provide the ID of this balloon, which is being popped right now. Once we have this, we can go to our app component, and here we can listen to that event. So this is called balloon popped, but this needs to be an output. So don't forget to put the output just like this, and make sure to have 1 at the rate there. Now we can go to our app component and listen to this event. And here we're going to call a custom function inside the app component. We are going to call this function balloon pop handler, and we are also going to pass the event inside. Now you can go and create the function right inside the app component. And as we know, we are going to provide the balloon ID, which is a string. And here we need to filter the balloon. So we need to remove the balloon from the balloons array. When we do so, we are also going to remove the balloon from the screen as well and from the array as well. So the balloon component will go away, but we are also adding the score as well. So we increase the score and then we filter the balloons. So we get rid of one balloon which is rendered on the screen. Now we're going to go to our balloon component template and put a mouse over, and we're going to call the pop function. So we actually pop a balloon. So if I mouse over, you can see that the balloon goes away and the score also increases. This is great, right? Now you can also go and put a breakpoint right there inside the pop function. So whenever you pop a balloon, you can see that this function is called and the value is emitted from here. And if you put the breakpoint in app component, you can see that here the balloon ID comes in, then we increase the score. And here you can see that now the buttons array has been reduced from 3 to 2 items. Now we can also handle the missing balloons. So if a balloon goes beyond the screen, then it is missed. So we are going to copy basically the balloon missed, and then we are going to put the condition here that whenever the animation is done, which means that the balloon has gone beyond the screen, we're just going to emit balloon missed with the balloon ID, same as how we did for pop. Now we can go to the app component and listen for this event as well. So balloon missed equals, and we are going to call this balloon miss handler. Same approach, same signature as well. So we're going to pass the event right here. Now we can go in the app component and basically create this function. We're going to get the balloon ID as a string right here. And then we are going to increase the miss count, just like we do for score. But here we are just going to add the miss count. But we're going to remove the balloon ID for now because we don't need it. So I'm going to remove it from here, from the template. And then if I go to the balloon component, we can remove it from the emitter. And then we can also remove it from here inside the animation done. Now, when we go here, you can see that whenever the balloon goes off the screen, the missed value is increased whenever the animation is finished for each particular balloon. So this is great. This is what we wanted. For now, I'm going to change the animation to ease in, but trust me, I'm going to change this again later on. So now what I want to do is I also want to show the missed only when there's a missed value. So until then, I'll just show the score. So by default, it shows the score. As long as you are winning, you're getting the score, you just see that. But as soon as you miss, then you see the miss value. I think that makes much more sense. Now I'm going to change this to ease in out, as I said before. And look at the animation right now. It comes fast into the screen and goes out slow from the screen. So ease in and ease out both. Now what I want to do is whenever we pop a particular balloon, I want to create a new one again so we don't run out of balloons to play with. So here inside the balloon pop handler, we can just say this.balloons.push and we can add a new balloon just like this. So just say new balloon. And then we would have a new balloon to work with. So you can see as soon as we pop a balloon, a new balloon appears from the bottom and then the animation runs and all the life cycle runs automatically, as you can see. Sorry for the interruption, but I had to share this book, which is Angular Cookbook 2nd edition. And I took over a year to write this. And this includes everything that is modern in Angular, including signals, including the new control flow. So this is a really good book. If you want to polish your skills in Angular, you can find the link in the description of this video. Let's continue. Now let's also handle game over. So when we have a number of balloons missed, then we are going to just call it game over. But before that, I'm going to convert this missed into a signal because the game over is going to be a computed. And this is a new thing in Angular, which is signals. So we set the missed to signal by default value 0. And then in the balloon miss handler, we update the value just like this. Now we can go to the template, and in the template, you can see that I'm putting missed with small brackets because that is what you need to render a particular signal inside Angular templates today. Now you can see that the game works just as before. The only difference is that now it's using signals. Now we can implement the computed. So here I can say game over, and here I'm saying computed. And now if I go forward, I can actually use the missed to say if the missed number is greater than or equals to some arbitrary value. For now, we are going to use 3. If it reaches that, then it's game over. So right now, what I can do is I can wrap all of this inside an if condition. And I'm going to say if it's not game over, then I'm going to render this game, which includes balloons. Else, if it's game over, then I'm just going to render some text that says game over. And I would also want to potentially show the score as well. So let's first render the game over just like this. And then we'll add a section, wrap everything inside this section. And then we'll also add the button for restarting the game again. So you can see that we are choosing these styles right now. But if you see the game right now, once we have the missed values, which is 3 right now, this will say game over immediately, and we have a restart button right here. But as I said, I also want to render the score here as well. So for now, what I'll do is I'll also put a click handler right here, and I'll say restart, which means that when we click this, the game should restart itself. Now I'm going to create the restart function just like this. But in the restart, I want to reset the missed value to 0. So I'm going to just use the set method to do that. And then I'm going to also set the score to 0 as well. Now, what I also want to do is I want to put the initialization of the balloons inside its own function. So I can call it on init, but then also on restart. So I'm going to create the on init method here. But for that, I'm also going to create the start game method. So here I can say this.balloons equals with the initialization of the array. And then in the restart, I can just use the start game function by moving stuff around. So here I can say this.start game. So I'm now running the function on ng-on-init, but then also on the restart as well. Now that we have this, let's put that inside the ng-on-init, and I can call this the start game. But if I have a function that just calls a function, that doesn't make much more sense. So I'm going to actually remove the restart function from here. And we can just rather call the start game from the HTML. So here I'm going to just replace this. Now, if we see, the game runs as usual. And once we have the missed values, I can click restart and you can see the score is resetted to 0. We're not seeing any missed value and the game works as before. So once we have 3 missed, then we would be able to see the restart as well. Now we can look into if we miss particular balloons which are not popped, how do we generate those ones as well? So we're going to first filter the balloons based on the ID, just as we do in the pop one. So we are going to reduce the array. We are going to use the same filter using the balloon ID. So we are also removing elements when we miss balloons. We are going to provide the event from here. And we are also going to provide it inside this onDone, just like we did for pop. So now that we have this, the balloons array is going to be reduced, which means that the elements, the balloon components rendered inside the app component will also reduce. So what we can do here is we can have a balloon elements as a signal query. And this is also very new. It's introduced in Angular 17.2, which is essentially providing the view children as signal. So here we can say balloon component, and that means now we have an array of balloon components as a signal, which means that we can use an effect here. We could also have used it computed, but we are going to use an effect, which means that whenever we have this view children or the length of it change, or if an item is added or removed from the view, we can run this effect. So here we are checking if the length of the balloon elements goes below the balloons on the screen number. So if it gets less than 3 for some weird reason, then what do we want to do? We essentially want to create a new one. So if we keep popping balloons, then we want to keep creating balloons as well. But if we keep missing balloons, then that also means that we need to keep creating more balloons as well. So just do this like this and also update the balloon pop handler as well. Similarly, so here we are using the technique of spread operator by creating a new array for the balloons instead of pushing it, which is much more nice because it's immutable. Now we are going to change the maximum number of misses from 3 to 10. And then we are going to use that as well in our game logic. So the maximum misses now are 10. And now if you run the game, you will see that when we have the misses reaching to 10, we have the game over, just like this. Now what we can do is we can also say that the create balloons on demand should only happen when the game is not over. So if the game is running and it's not over, then we are going to create all these balloons on demand if we are missing those. But once the game is over, we don't need to keep creating balloons, if you understand what I mean. Now we can go and remove some comments and console logs from here. And now let's look into the pop animation for each balloon that we pop. So we're going to create a variable called pop animation, and we're going to use the animation builder again. We're going to use keyframes this time. So first of all, we are going to use animate, and in the animation, we are going to use the timing of 2 seconds for now and ease out. And then we are going to use keyframes right here. So we need a popping situation, which means that the balloon is gonna be a bit bigger and then a bit small. So we are going to use a style, scale, and offset. The style basically sets the style. The scale is what is going to make the balloon grow. And the offset is where in the animation from 0 to 1 is this style is going to be applied. So 0.5 means halfway through the animation. And since this is 2 seconds, that means from start in 1 second, it's going to be 1.2 times of its original size. And then this is 0.75. So that means when it is about 1 minute and I think 1 minute and 5 seconds, then essentially it's going to be 0.8, but I'm going to set that in just a bit. So if you see it right now, you're going to see that we are really not using the animation because we are not using the player.play or the animation.play. So here, first of all, we need to create the player. We are going to say animation or pop animation.create. And then this should get the native element or the reference to the native element's first child. This is supposed to be pop animation. And then we need to do player.play to actually play the animation. So here we're going to just use player.play. So it runs the animation and then we're going to use player on done. And once it's done, which means that the pop animation has finished, then we emit the balloon popped. So after animation, then we pop it. Now, when you see this, you can see that this grows in 2 seconds and then it's popped. So first the animation finishes and then it is popped. Now I can uncomment this one as well and change this to 0.8. So you can see that it grows and then it becomes smaller to show a pop animation. But the animation is too slow. So let's do 0.2. And now you'll see it's going to be much nicer. So here you go. You can see that all these balloons are ready to be popped and we can pop them just like this. Super cool. Now, if I change the minimum speed to 2 and maximum to 3, you'll see that this becomes much faster. So you can apply the game logic and change the speed per your liking. So you can obviously tweak the speed, as you can see right here, make it your own, change it, change the layout, change the balloon, add maybe some images as well, and make this your own game. Now we are adding some scores to the screen as well. So apart from game over, just add this div and give this class text to SL and then font bold and then text center. So we can also show the score once we have finished or missed enough balloons, so to say. So here's the score, as you can see. So it's always good to show the score to the user once the game is finished. We're also going to add the items center class to the section so everything is centered and looks nicer. And we'll also change the max misses to 1 just to check if everything looks good. And now it looks good, so I'm happy. So I'm going to revert the maximum misses to 10 again before actually publishing this, and the balloons on the screen to 5. And here you can see that everything looks nice, even though the speed is a bit faster. Now let's publish this to GitHub. I'm going to create a new repository and I'm going to select myself as the owner. I'm going to select the ng balloon pop as the name. And it's very easy to deploy now to GitHub pages. So keep this public, create the repository, and then we can say git add dot, git commit in our terminal, give this a nice little commit, and then I can basically copy the remote from here, just like this. And then you can paste it right here, and then I can git push. Now, once you have pushed it, you can just run ng deploy, and it's so easy nowadays to do this. So when you run this, it's going to ask you which service you're going to use. So select GitHub pages, just like this. And it sets it up for you. So this is really, really easy to now push to GitHub pages. Say yes when you're prompted this, and this will set things up for you. Now, when we deploy, we want to add the base href. But when you run ng deploy, you can find this as well, just like this. So we need to create a script inside our package.json. So we're going to go to package.json, create a new script, call it deploy. And inside we're going to say ng deploy, and we're going to pass the base href as the repository's name. So for me, it was ng balloon pop. So see what the name of your repository is and then supply it just like this. Now you can run npm run deploy, and this does the magic for us. So it's going to push the whole code to GH branch, which is used by GitHub to deploy this to GitHub pages. But everything is set up for us automatically, so we don't really have to do a lot apart from just running this command whenever we want to deploy. Now let's also add these changes to our main repository, so we can also push this as well, just as the package.json, whatever we change in that, and then also the ng deploy setup. So give this a nice commit name, and then you can push to your repository. So you can refresh by checking it, click this gear icon, and then check this mark user GitHub pages website. This is so easy now. I remember the days where this used to be so hard and we had to find what is the repository name for my project again, but now it's super easy. You can save the changes, and when you go to actions, you should be able to see your pages deployed. So this should be green. And that means that you can just click this link and enjoy your game just like that. Super cool, right? Alright, so I hope that you liked the video. If you did, press the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and share this video so more people can benefit from this. Write in the comments what would you like me to work on next, and as always, happy coding. I'm gonna see you in the next video.